We all want to believe we can trust our partners, but sometimes the mask slips and the person you married becomes your worst nightmare. This is the story of Saltanat Nukenova. In late 2023, a nightmare unfolded in a restaurant in the city of Astana. And in 2024, an entire country and much of the world watched live as the former minister of the National Economy of Kazakhstan faced trial for a murder so brutal it changed laws. Saltanat was born on May 15, 1992, in Pavlodar, a city up in northern part of Kazakhstan, pretty close to the Russian border. One of the first things that really stands out about her, especially in the photos and videos from before everything happened, is just how genuinely happy she seemed. That smile, it was infectious. Her eyes had this real warmth and kindness in them. And her brother, Aytbek, later described it perfectly. Whenever Saltanat walked into a room, the whole place just felt brighter. People were naturally drawn to her. The whole family comes across the same way. Warm, close-knit, full of life. They spent a lot of time together, laughing, having fun. You can see that cheerful vibe in the old family moments. Her parents built this safe, supportive home for them, and she came from a solid family background. Her mom and dad ran their own business, and they made sure their kids got a really good education. Her brother went off to study in the United States, and he works in IT now. Saltanat went to England for her studies. She did quite well there, got good grades, finished college, and then university as well. But she was always drawn to deeper stuff. Psychology, spiritual topics, that kind of thing. And astrology became a big passion for her. She took it seriously, studied deeply. Eventually, she moved to Astana, where her brother was living at the time, and she started her own firm there. She offered consultations, she'd read charts, give insights into people's lives and their futures, helping women who were going through tough spots in life. It wasn't exactly therapy, but she was there for them, using astrology to guide and support. Her brother said she dreamed of opening her own school of astrology one day. It's heartbreaking to think about this now, knowing what came later. But that's who Saltanat was at her core. A bright, caring person who made the people around her feel seen and lifted. By the time Saltanat met Kuandik, she was already standing on her own 2 feet. She had a solid job, good money coming in, financially stable. No one was supporting her. She was doing it all herself. The story of how they met might even seem romantic. Kuandik spotted her online somewhere and he just fell hard. Obsessed, really. He wanted to book a consultation with her right away, but Saltanat only worked with women. That's how she kept it. So he tried to get around it. Asked a female friend to book for him, pretending it was for her. That didn't work. Saltanat saw through it. Then he just showed up, waited outside her workplace for hours, and eventually he got what he wanted. They've met. She fell for him pretty quickly. Even though he wasn't really her usual type, she didn't really find him physically attractive. They clicked on a deeper level. Long talks about psychology and spirituality. Those were the things that fascinated her. She'd tell her friends how interesting it was, how much she enjoyed these conversations with him. Kuandik had his own impressive backstory. Studied in the United States, became Minister of National Economy at just 36. Young, successful, 3 degrees. People saw him as this rising star. But then, corruption charges, massive bribes, sentenced to 10 years in prison. He only ended up serving about 2 before getting released early. His parents stood by him the whole time. His mother said in an interview, "They don't understand. In a family like ours, we couldn't raise a child that would engage in something like bribery." Which, if you ask me, already gives off this weird vibe. He had been married twice before Saltanat. had 4 kids from those marriages, and he was charismatic, really good at sounding convincing, persuasive. You'd see that skill on full display later, during the trial. Saltanat's brother Aydbek and the rest of the family met him at this traditional Kazakh gathering called Kudalik. It's like a formal meeting between families before things get serious. Aydbek came away from it feeling off. He said Kuandyk mostly just stared into space, wasn't really present, and wasn't engaged, which was pretty weird for an event like this. The family had real concerns about his past, the jail time, the corruption conviction. Saltanat tried to ease their minds. She'd say he was targeted for political reasons, that a lot of the news was fake and exaggerated. Just meet him, she'd tell them. You'll see, he's different once you get to know him. An important thing to note is that Saltanat had absolutely zero experience with abuse or manipulation. None. She grew up in this loving, caring family where everyone looked out for each other. Her whole circle, good, honest people. So when she met Kuandyk, she had no radar for what might be coming. No tools to spot the red flags. No idea how to handle what started unfolding. Kuandyk and Saltanat got married in December of 2022, and just 11 months later, Saltanat would pass away. The first time the mask really slipped, where everyone could see it, was New Year's Eve 2022. Both families were there at Kuandyk's apartment. His ex-wife showed up too, with 2 of their kids. Another couple came over that evening, and they gave Saltanat a gift. A bottle of perfume. It was just minutes after Kuandyk had given her his own gift. That set him off. He got furious. Argued with the couple, argued with Saltanat. Kept saying it was supposed to be his moment. He'd just given his wife a gift and they ruined it by giving her another one right after. Then he stormed out of the apartment. While he was gone, his kids started opening presents under the Christmas tree. He comes back, sees what's happening, and loses it completely. Starts screaming at the kids, cursing them out, all kinds of profanity. His parents try to calm him down. It's not a big deal, son. They just opened their presents. But he wouldn't hear it. Turns on them too. Swears at his dad, says he ruined his life, ruined his mom's life. His mom steps in to defend his dad, tries to de-escalate, and he starts cursing her out as well. All of this in front of Saltanat's brother Aydbek. Aydbek was shocked, as you can imagine. Later, Saltanat told her brother what happened after everyone left that night. Kuandyk was still raging. He flipped the kitchen table. Dishes, food, everything crashed into the floor. Just a total mess. At first, maybe people thought, okay, that was a one-time, a bad night. He didn't hurt anyone physically, right? Who knows what kind of stress he was under from work or whatever. But soon, it became clear this wasn't a one-time thing. The man Saltanat married was capable of much worse than anyone realized. Then, on March 9th, they had an argument. He hit her multiple times. Up until then, if there had been any earlier outbursts, she hadn't told anyone. But this time, she decided to speak up. She told her brother Aydbek about it. 11 days later, March 20th, Aydbek gets a message from her. Photos. Her face covered in bruises. He said later in an interview he couldn't even put into words how he felt seeing those. He starts calling her right away. No answer. Saltanat's whole family had geolocation turned on. All the family members had agreed to that for safety reasons. So he checks her location. She's at home. He contacts Kuandyk, confronts him. Kuandyk tries to play it cool, says, "Come over to the apartment, let's talk about everything." Aydbek is already on his way. He gets there, knocks. Kuandik's daughter opens the door. Aidbek asks, "Where's Saltanat?" She says she doesn't know. He calls Kuandik again. "I'm here at your place, waiting. I'm taking my sister out of here." Kuandik shows up and Aidbek just asks one thing: "Where is my sister?" Kuandik starts blabbering, then says, "This is my family, my business, my wife. Stay out of it." Aidbek doesn't back down, keeps asking the same question. That's when Kuandik grabs him by the arm and tries dragging him out of the building. Aidbek gets even more angry and frustrated, so a full fight breaks out. The apartment gets trashed, windows broken, furniture smashed, dishes everywhere. Anything they could grab gets destroyed. At one point, they get separated. Aidbek pulls out his phone, says he's sending the photos to Kuandik's mother. He does, then calls her. She picks up, asks what's going on. Aidbek tells her straight up, "Your son, the convict, beat up my sister. I need to get her away from him." She tries to calm him down, but he says the only thing that matters is getting his sister safe and away from this guy. Kuandik's mom mentions Saltanat might be in another apartment in the same building. It made sense why the location pinged there. So Aidbek goes downstairs, starts pounding on the door. No answer. She's either asleep or just didn't hear him, but his mind is racing towards the worst possibilities. He starts breaking down the door, panicking. That's when she finally opens it. He wants to take her away right then, but she says no. She still wanted to save the marriage. It had only been 3 months since the wedding, so she asked him to leave. And he did. He listened to her. But his worry, his frustration, it was at a breaking point. For the next 5 days, they had long talks over messages. Him urging her, "You really need to end this. Get out of this marriage." You might be wondering, why didn't she just leave him? Why stay through all that? Well, she did try. She left him 12 times over those 11 months of marriage. Each time he'd track her down, apologize, they'd talk it out, make up, and she'd go back. Her brother Aidbek even found her a therapist, someone who could help her understand why she kept going back, why she needed to end it for good. Aidbek told her straight, "Something broke inside you. The Saltanat I knew before would never let someone hit her. You really need to see this therapist." And she'd respond by sending him photos of them on vacations, smiling together, trying to show him it wasn't all that bad. She'd say she felt sorry for Kuandik, that everyone had turned their backs on him, that he had a terrible relationship with his own family. And there was this one really peculiar reason she held on. Based on her astrology readings, Saltanat believed Kuandik was going to die in 2023. She told her brother she didn't want him to die alone. She couldn't just abandon him like that. She never could have imagined that the same year, the man she felt so much pity for, the one she didn't want to leave alone in his final moments, would be the cause of her death. That he'd leave her to die alone, bleeding on the floor for hours, and then in court say the most awful things about her. It's really common in abusive relationships. Victims have an incredibly hard time leaving. The emotional manipulation, it's overwhelming. And Kuandik added threats on top of it. When he found out she'd sent those photos to her brother, he claimed Aidbek might use them to blackmail him for money. So he forced Saltanat to record nude videos as leverage. That way, if Aidbek went to the police or tried to use the photos later, her videos would end up on the internet. On June 5th, Saltanat posted that She wouldn't be doing any more consultations. Her husband had forbidden her from working. He also forbade her from having any social media presence. He'd get jealous, take out his frustrations on her, and the physical violence was starting to show up more and more. Exactly 1 month later, on July 5th, she messaged a friend, asked if she could come pick her up, give her a place to stay, even just for a short while. When the friend came to pick her up, she noticed Saltanat had strangulation marks on her neck from what appeared to be a rope. Her left shoulder and arm were covered in bruises. Saltanat just broke down, told her friend that Kwandik was a tyrant, controlling her every move, around her 24/7. Wouldn't let her see friends or family, nothing. Another friend, Aida, recalled hearing from Saltanat that he would often grab her by the hair, drag her around like that she'd constantly lose hair from this, like full handfuls of hair. It was the night of April 8, 2023, but really just after midnight, so technically the night. Around 12:40 a.m., Saltanat called her brother Aidbek. She sounded determined, said, "I'm coming to you. I'm leaving Kwandik for good." Aidbek told her, "Yes, okay, of course, I'm home." He checks her location right after hanging up. She's at the restaurant. From there to his place, maybe 10 minutes, 15 at most. Especially at 1 a.m., no traffic, easy drive. In the video footage from that night, you can see the area right outside the restaurant. She just stepped out after another argument. This wasn't just leaving for the night. She was done, ready to end the marriage for good and walk away. 20, maybe 25 minutes go by. Nothing. So he calls her back. No answer. He figures, okay, maybe she changed her mind. Went to a hotel room instead. Maybe she wanted some space alone. They would catch up in the morning. But he still waits. Leaves the door open, keeps checking. Eventually, around 2 a.m., he falls asleep. Saltanat and Kwandik went to a concert that day, and they had already started arguing there. After that, they went to a restaurant, one that Kwandik owned, and that's where they began seriously confronting each other about their relationship. This footage comes from the cameras inside the restaurant. Saltanat and Kwandik walk in, head straight to a VIP room. That room is outside the camera's view, so once they disappear through that door, we don't see them again until 7 a.m. By then, Saltanat has bruises on her face, serious enough that you can see them even on this low-quality footage. And she's wearing just one coat thrown over her bare body. So, what happened in those 6 hours, from around 1 a.m. until 7 a.m.? At 7 a.m., we see them leave the restaurant together. They walk to their car, but then they turn around and come right back inside. 15 minutes later, 7:16 a.m., Kwandik steps out of the elevator. He grabs Saltanat by the hair, throws her to the ground, and starts kicking her, repeatedly. She's on the floor, barely moving. He grabs her hair again, yanks her up. Then he starts punching her in the face, over and over. The first punch is so hard, you can actually see her head snap back and hit the wall behind her from the force. He steps away for a second, comes back, grabs her hair once again, and starts dragging her down the hallway. As he's pulling her along, he trips, drops her face first onto the floor. She just lies there, motionless. But he doesn't stop, grabs her hair again, lifts her up, drops her, grabs again, drags her back towards the VIP section. The whole thing on camera lasts about 4 minutes. What happened after they went back into that VIP room? We don't know. The cameras just don't show it. Fast forward to around 10 a.m. 3 hours after that last footage we saw. The restaurant manager shows up. It's Kwon-dik's cousin. From that moment, he starts doing exactly what Kwon-dik tells him. First, he brings a blanket, then some medicine. He clears out all the employees, shuts the whole restaurant down, and finally, he erases the surveillance footage. The clips we have now, they were recovered later during the investigation. That's how the cousin ended up complicit in the cover-up. He'll face trial for it too, in the months ahead. At one point, Kwon-dik tells him to take Saltanat's phone, drive it to the gym, then back to their apartment. Why? We don't know for sure, but one guess is if she ever disappeared, he'd have an alibi. He could say he was at the restaurant all day, and if police checked phone records, they'd think her last location was somewhere else. It might have thrown them off. So why didn't they just try to move her out of there? Why leave her in the restaurant? November 9th in Astana, that was a big day. The president was in town, staying not far away. Streets packed with police patrols, cameras everywhere. That specific date, that location, it made it impossible to get her out of there without being seen. Both Kwon-dik and his cousin later claimed the same thing. They had no idea she was dying or already dead. They said she just fell asleep and didn't wake up. One of the most bizarre parts of this whole case is that once Kwon-dik sobered up and realized what he'd done, he didn't call an ambulance. He called a psychic he knew. A psychic. In Kazakhstan and a lot of neighboring countries, psychics, fortune tellers, clairvoyants, they're surprisingly popular, way more than in the West. Students, office workers, even successful business people and public figures, they'll consult them about relationships, money, big decisions. Despite modern education and scientific awareness, many are still drawn to the sense of control or insight these practitioners seem to offer. Still, in this situation, even the most superstitious person would know to call 911 immediately, which made it seem very strange even by local standards. Kwon-dik later explained it like this. I know this woman who is a psychic, so I called her. I told her we tried to wake my wife up, but couldn't. I asked, is she alright? Is everything okay with her? She has this big bruise on her face, and I have no idea how she got it. Can you take a look at her? She told me to call her back in 10 minutes. I said, okay. Called her back later. She told me everything is fine, that Saltanat is just really tired and very drunk. Let her sleep till the evening. She'll wake up then and you can head home with her, and everything will be alright. I felt this sort of sense of relief after hearing that. Then I hung up. Hours of delay. No help called. Because a psychic said she'd be fine. After this, Saltanat supposedly stayed asleep, while Kwon-dik had a business meeting in the same restaurant. Later, he and his cousin are seen eating dinner. They ate dinner while Saltanat lay there in the VIP section, dying. The ambulance was called by 8 p.m., 12 hours after Saltanat lost consciousness, or as Kwon-dik called it, fell asleep. By that time, she was already dead, and her body was cold. Later, experts would determine that most likely she had died about 5 to 6 hours before the 911 call was made. During the call, the operator instructed the men what to do to try and save Saltanat. But it was too late at this point. She was gone. Kwon-dik went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, even recorded a voice message for his will, but seemingly changed his mind about taking his own life. Aidbek found out about his sister's death on the evening of November 9th. First, a friend sent him a police report. He stared at it, didn't believe it, called the police right away. They told me it was true, said, "We offer our condolences." But I'm thinking, how would the operator even know what really happened? Maybe it's a mistake. That's what kept running through my head. He orders a taxi, steps outside. That's when his father calls. As far as Aidbek knows, his dad had already heard something, but nothing was confirmed yet. His father asked, "Son, what happened?" "Dad, I don't know. I'm on my way to the restaurant. They told me to come there and I'll figure it out." His dad said, "Alright, call me when you get there." While he was driving to the restaurant, he started scrolling through the news. But there was nothing confirming it. He thought maybe some report would appear soon. Then his father called again. "You're going there now, right? Maybe they just had an argument. She's probably feeling unwell. Take her aside quietly and bring her home with you. That's enough. Just take her away." Aidbek said, "Okay, Dad, I'll get there, find her, and bring her home." When he arrived at the restaurant, he told them he was Saltanat's brother and that he needed to find his sister. That's when they told him it was true. They said Saltanat was gone. For a couple of minutes, I was just lost there on the spot. They sat me down at a table and gave me some water, and the only thought in my head was that I had to call my father. He called his dad, and his father answered, already in tears. He asked, "Son, what's going on?" And Aidbek told him, "Dad, it's true. They told me here that Kwandik killed Saltanat." It seemed he was on speakerphone because the next thing he heard was his mother screaming, shouting, "That can't be." There was this piercing cry. The trial began in March, but the case got significant attention immediately after the arrest in November. Both Kwandik himself and his lawyers were highly prominent figures in Kazakhstan. Right from the start, the defense went hard in one direction, painting Saltanat in the worst possible light. They said she drank a lot, started fights out of nowhere, acted irrationally, that she humiliated him, made him feel less of a man, constantly compared him to her exes, just tearing him down. They tried to convince the jury that the ex-minister didn't want to kill his wife, saying things like he had no reason, no plan, no intent to commit such a senseless act. He loved Saltanat. During the trial, Kwandik showed his masterclass in acting. He'd cry on cue, roll his eyes, speak in this soft, disarming voice. It came across as very calculated, manipulative. He gave this apology at one point. Here's how he put it. "I want to apologize. I'm not expecting forgiveness or anything like that. But this is my inner duty and my heartfelt message. I understand that this is an irreparable loss, and I know that I am connected to these circumstances. I do not admit to intentionally and consciously murdering my wife Saltanat with particular cruelty, but I do admit that I am involved. She was agitated, I was agitated. She started cursing at me, and in response, I began cursing back." They argued for hours. Around 3 a.m., Saltanat went to the bathroom. He followed her in. She supposedly took off all the jewelry he'd given her, flushed it down the toilet. Then she stripped off all her clothes, the ones he'd brought her to. When he left the bathroom, she locked herself inside. He said that that's when he lost it, grabbed this big metal tripod that was nearby and started smashing the stall door with it. During this part of the night, some employees of the restaurant noticed the mayhem that was happening. they messaged their boss. Kwandik is going crazy. He turned the VIP section upside down. I hope his wife is alive. He's completely drunk. Right after sending those texts, they asked if they could leave their shifts early. They just wanted out. After Kwandik made a giant hole in the stall, he heard a click from the inside. Saltanat unlocked the door. Soon after, she would receive all the injuries that later will cause her death. But Kwandik claims that his wife supposedly began falling down on her own and hitting her face, not just once and not even twice. At one point, she started to take off her pants while being hysterical. I asked her, "What are you doing? Don't do that." I was holding her from the back at that moment. She didn't stop. I said, "Okay, fine, do whatever you want." And I let go of her. And because she kept trying to take off her pants and moving around erratically, the moment I let go, she stumbled and fell. She first hit the wall and then slammed her face against the toilet seat. It was a very strong fall. Then after her face slammed the toilet seat, she fell on the floor and hit her face against it as well. So according to him, he's innocent. She simply got way too drunk, kept acting irrationally, fell constantly, and thus injured herself over and over again while he kept helping her. Then they showed him the hallway footage from 7:16 a.m. when they came back to the restaurant, the kicking, the punching, the dragging by the hair. His response? I remember vividly, and I also understood at the time that I didn't hurt or damage any of her vital organs. Just out of anger, I kicked her lightly about 4 times, saying, "Get up, get up. Is this how you're going to act now?" She didn't stand up, and because I was angry, I grabbed her by the hair and lifted her up that way instead. In the VIP section, she kept stumbling and falling. I ran up to her and helped her get up, helped her sit down on the couch. Then a couple minutes later, she lay down, closed her eyes, and 30 seconds later, she just started to snore. I tried waking her up, telling her a taxi will come soon, and we'll go home. But I couldn't wake her up. She was extremely drunk. These were the statements Kwandik made early in the trial, but just 2 days later, the truth started coming out. On his phone, investigators found multiple videos taken that very morning, the hours when he beat Saltanat to death. When those videos played in court, the judge actually covered her mouth with her hand, shocked at what she was seeing. In the videos, you see Saltanat's clothes, the ones she'd removed by the time she left the restaurant. Remember how she was just wearing that one coat thrown over her? Now we know why. Those clothes were soaked in her blood. Kwandik's response when they showed the videos? He claimed it was fake montage. Maybe someone hacked his phone, edited them. When these videos were played in court, one of Saltanat's friends felt so sick to her stomach that an ambulance had to be called for her. She didn't return later. Saltanat's brother, Aidbek, couldn't hold back the tears. Even the lawyers cried as well. The prosecution asked Kwandik a question. You told us that when you were in the VIP section, you were just sitting on the floor and talking to her. Then she started falling. You went to the bathroom and that's when she hit her face against the toilet seat. But on the video we just watched, we can see her in the bathroom stall, sitting completely naked, covered in blood, and you holding her by the hair. Kwandik said that the video they've seen was taken after what he described earlier. When the judge asked Kwandik why he recorded those videos in the first place, his response was disturbing, to say the least. He said it was to respond to humiliation with humiliation. In the past, Kwandik had often complained that Saltanat was overly jealous, that she'd start fights over it constantly. But on all the videos pulled from his phone that night, about 2 hours of footage, you see a completely unhinged Kwon-dik insulting her in the most demeaning ways, demanding she confess to infidelity while beating her. What stood out to a lot of people watching the trial was the reactions in the room when those videos played. Saltanat's brother crying, lawyers in tears, everyone shocked, horrified. Even the judge is visibly shaken. But Kwon-dik's mother, completely emotionless, stoic. And Kwon-dik himself, he watched the footage almost analytically, taking notes here and there. Kwon-dik was asked how often has he been violent towards Saltanat throughout their 11-month marriage. His answer? If not counting the tragic events of November 9, there were only 2 other times. The key word here is only. He said that he only realized that something was wrong with Saltanat in the evening. He touched her cheeks and felt that they were cold. He said it really bothered him, that he started checking her for her pulse, but couldn't find it. Another cynical detail that was uncovered from his phone was a text exchange he had the very same day. He was texting a girl saved in his contacts as Amazing Yulia, asking her how she's doing, if she's free later. When the judge brought it up, he brushed it off, said it was just a personal conversation, irrelevant to the case. The forensic medical examiner showed what injuries Saltanat had on her head. There were at least 13 blows, and that's just to the head. He also said with confidence that the injuries she sustained were not possible to receive from falls. Not like that. On the 11th, Saltanat's body was taken to the mosque to be prepared for the funeral, and after the washing, when the women who were doing it came out, their faces were pale and they were crying. They felt sick from what they had seen. When Aidbek and his dad took Saltanat back home to finish preparing for the funeral, they both saw her face, and when they got home, they forbade everyone else to look at her uncovered. On the day of the funeral, lots of different rumors started surfing the internet about Saltanat. That she was a drug user, that she was an alcoholic, a cheating wife. Such comments flooded the internet, and not just there either. People discussed these rumors even at her funeral. The family members heard them there as well. This was all before the trial even started. But after the trial, public perception shifted dramatically, in large part thanks to Aidbek, who immediately announced that he will fight for justice until the very end. People started leaving thousands upon thousands of comments on Aidbek's social media pages, showing their support. During the trial, dozens of women of all ages would meet him outside the court building, giving him hugs, wishing for the family to get justice, offering any help they could. Aidbek later said this was one of the biggest things that gave him the strength to keep pushing forward, that outpouring of support when he needed it most. After the trial, a flash mob spread across Kazakhstan. Thousands of women would post videos on social media with captions like, "I'm a woman, and if you see me with a glass of wine, it does not mean you can kill me. If you see me wearing a short skirt, it does not mean you can touch me. I'm a woman, and that does not mean I'm your property." This flash mob spread across many other post-Soviet countries. At the end of the trial, Kwon-dik was given the opportunity to say his last words. He decided to quote Adolf Hitler. "If you tell a big enough lie, and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed." That's what happened in this trial, he said. Kwon-dik was sentenced to 24 years in prison. His cousin was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Later that year, journalists found out that the ex-minister wasn't in the prison he was supposed to be in. From July of 2024, the government of Kazakhstan no longer told the public where he was being kept. Whether he managed to get out of prison, we don't know. That same year, a new law was passed in Kazakhstan. People quickly gave it an unofficial name, the Saltanat law. For the first time, domestic abuse became a punishable criminal offense. No more brushing it off as family matters. It was seen as a real breakthrough. Just to give you some context, in 2023 alone, domestic violence took the lives of 69 women and 7 children in that country. Aydbek later wrote a book about all of this. It's called Her Name Was Saltanat. The book tells her story, her life, their family, the tragedy, and how they've been carrying the grief since. Aydbek hopes that this book will help at least one person see life more clearly, for them to hug their family more tightly, and to respond and be there the moment they notice something off. I'd like to end this video with a quote from one of his interviews. Please, everyone who is watching this right now, when you see everything that's happening, don't just believe what you hear or the sweet words people say. Pay attention to inconsistencies. That's how you can understand who is lying and who is telling the truth. You should always question things, think about what is actually happening, and recognize when someone is lying to you. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. If you find these stories important and would want to hear more, please subscribe. I'd love to have you along for the next one. Thank you for watching, and rest in peace, Saltanat.